everybody has a story. And as Elisa said, we are acknowledging Women's History Month. And a few weeks ago, we had women veterans. And I think this is a topic that is really important as far as acknowledging people that have disabilities or people that have worked with people with disabilities. And I think it's important to acknowledge those. I myself am one of the panelists, have had a diagnosis for 28 years now with MS. And March is MS Awareness Month. So I'm grateful to represent MS and, you know, have you guys talk about the issues or things that you guys have brought to the table or going through or how you've contributed to the community. So I just want to say thank you, each and every one of you. And I'm going to just give a little blurb about each one of you, and then Elisa will take over and kind of ask questions. So the first person, and I'm not going in any specific order, but I do want to just go from what I have. So the first person I want to recognize is Constant Major. Now, Connie Major, I just communicated with her. She's in New Orleans, and she said it's a really bad storm there right now. So she lost her internet connection. So she may still be joining us. So she may pop on at any minute now. But she is a U.S. Army veteran. She's an ordained minister. And she has her story of the disability or um, issue that she has had from being in the service. The next person that I want to talk about is Randy Coley. Randy Coley she has 20-year service in the helping profession. She also has 10 years in mental health and substance use treatment. She's the owner and president of Refine RT Community Outreach. She's a certified life coach. She's a motivational speaker, 7 years at Department of Human Services, and she's on the phone, so we won't see her, but she is one of the phone calls that we have. The other person that I want to bring up is Miss Jackie Bynes. She also is on the phone. She was having some internet connection issues. She is the Director of Client Population Development, Disability Management Services out of Houston, and that's where she is right now. Her biggest acknowledgement is her faith in God, and she wanted us to recognize that. And I understand, that's where her faith is. And she also has done a lot of things. She's worked at multiple hospitals. She's a registered nurse. She's over, let's see, her, she started as a nurse's aide, and she has been a nurse for over 49 years. And she's worked in several large hospitals, in the ICU, the medical, surgical, pediatric, intensive care, psych, emergency room, and home health care. And she's also currently over staff development and development Disabilities Nurses Association. Next person is Kimberly. Hopefully I don't pronounce your name incorrectly, but Mebane. Kimberly Mebane. She works with NAMI, KDK, and she's also a Marine veteran. She's a Marine Corps veteran, and she is working on her bachelor's, which she will receive in May, a bachelor's in public health from Northern Illinois University. She's a member of Public Health Association. She's part of Women Marines Association, several other honor societies, and she's also the facilitator for Sharing Hope Initiative with NAMI Information International, which encourages community conversation about mental health and wellness in the Black and Latinx community. The other person we have, she won't be joining us, but I just wanted to mention her name. Her name is Deborah Norfleet, and she is a retired Department of Human Services Public Service Administrator. So she had a family issue, so she is not able to join us, but she's willing to join us for another event that she qualifies for. The last person we have is Nikki Vanzer. She's a small business owner. She has a bachelor's of science in accountancy. She's let's see, enrolled agency prospect, and from 2016, she's had her virtual bookkeeping business. So welcome all of you guys. I'm looking forward to having a great table talk with you all and getting information and just learning all about what you guys do and how, we, collectively can continue working in our community. So thank you all again, and I will turn it over to Alisa.
Thank you, Barbara. Yes, I'm here.
Okay.
Thank you, Barbara. I just wanted to let everyone know that we are recording. The purpose of our talk is really we hope to have an audience while we're here, but it's okay if we don't, because once we complete the recording, then we post it to our Quad County Urban League YouTube channel, because again, our purpose is really to reach as many people as we can. So, and in doing so, that the whole purpose is education. So again, welcome to the Quad County Urban League CHW Table Talk. I'm saying it again because I didn't record it when I said it initially. So this is the Quad County Urban League Community Health Workers Table Talk, and today's topic is I've Got the Power. Working women with disabilities. I love it. I love it. What I did is I heard that song. I know you all know this song. It's a workout song. It's I've got the power. Dun, 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 dun. And when I thought about it, and I called Barbara immediately, and she said, yes, I love it. I love it. I love it. She said it's perfect. So I wanted to start out especially like that, because when you say the word disability, which just simply means that there's one area in your life or in your body or in your abilities that is, and I actually looked up the definition. I can't remember what it is, but it just says that it doesn't work as well as it would if it was fully capacitated. So it doesn't mean that you are without abilities. You have abilities. There's just an area that is less than able. So that's the conversation that we want to have tonight, because I know, as I worked with Barbara, and as she said, she's a working woman with a disability. And so with that said, I know that it is, and let me just back it up, because I have a special guest here. All of you are special, but I have other special guests. It's Nikki, who is my oldest grandson's mother. And so I've seen her go through her journey, and it has been amazing. So again, I want to hear all of these stories that are on the call here tonight. We want to welcome our guests. I also would like to say that, again, as we post on YouTube, that be sure to like, hi, Scott.
Hello.
Be sure to like, share, and what is the other word? Like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. I am not old. I do know
Just
to like,
wise.
share, and subscribe. So that's all right. But anyway, it's not about me. We're going to turn it over, and I'm going to begin our conversation with I've Got the Power, Women Working with Disabilities. Welcome, everyone. So here we are, acknowledging and paying tribute to working women with disabilities and those who are currently working in the field, because we do have some guests here that are not necessarily disabled, but they work in the community in that field. So I want to start out our first question, and you all have seen these questions. And well, let me just say this. I apologize if any of the questions offended you. Do not, I try to be culturally competent, but if I failed, I apologize. So my first question is, tell us how you landed in your field of employment And then the factors that you have that have impacted your decision in working. And I'll start with Kimberly. Kimberly has been here. She's been waiting patiently as we get started. Go, Kimberly.
Okay, can everybody hear me?
Yes, yes, yes.
Awesome. Sometimes my mic is weird, so I had to check. I have bipolar 2. I ended up working with NAMI KDK when I found them for my internship, the final part of my bachelor's degree, and I wasn't looking specifically for them, but once I started working with them and got really involved in the work that we were doing, and I realized that it was so rewarding for me, and it made me want to dive deeper into it, because I believe mental health is really important. Mental health awareness is really important, and people who are living with mental illness need to know that not only is it possible to live with it, but you can also thrive.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
That's awesome. We had NAMI on our program. One of our programs, it was it
Mental
actually
health
dealt with
awareness.
mental health. And they were our guest in November. So be sure to tell, I believe it was the director who was on with us. So
Yes,
be
Sarah.
sure to tell her.
Sarah.
She
Hello,
wanted to come,
Sarah.
but she's actually teaching a class,
Okay.
a family-to-family class tonight. It started at the same time as this event did.
Very good. All right. Well, we'll be sure to, we're going to have her back as well. We'll probably have all of you back, FYI. That's what you get for signing up. All right.
Absolutely willing to.
Good. So I'll move on. Miss Connie. Connie has been a guest of ours. In fact, she was with us last month as the Women in Military Service, and we appreciate your joining us again. Tell us again a little bit how you landed in the field of employment that you are, and share with us your disability as well.
Okay, I have two different fields that I work in currently.
Mhm.
First one is ministry. As we've talked before, I'm an ordained minister. So the majority of my time is spent towards ministry, helping other people that are dealing with issues, disabilities, talking and ministering to people that have problems that they don't feel comfortable going out and talking to everybody about. So they'll come and they'll speak with me about it. So my phone is always ringing, my door is always open, I'm always available. But also I have a 501c3. I have my own business. It's a women's accessories business. And I'm also in the process right now of currently starting my own clothing line for ministers. So
Okay.
I stay pretty busy most
I
of the
think
time.
that's needed.
Exactly, it is. It is.
It is. My mother, who is an evangelist, I won't say retired, but she is retired. Don't tell her I said that. She is a retired evangelist. No, she evangelizes every day at her apartment building. So yeah. But she saw a young woman on YouTube, and of course, her dress was above her knees. And my mother's 83, and her dress was above her knees, and she was in the pulpit, and she was just having a fit. I'm sure she had a fit about it for about a month.
Right.
So
Right.
we will share your information regarding uh, your clothing line. And did you tell us your disability?
No, I did not. I have uncontrolled seizures. I had a head injury when I was in the military. And
Okay.
so I'm still working that out. I have caregivers that help me, my daughter and my husband. Those are my caregivers, and that's my cheerleading squad and my support team. So we do everything together. So usually if you see me, you see one of them. They're with
Yes.
me.
That's
So if I'm going out to minister, either my husband or my daughter is with me. But if I'm just going, like I go in people's homes and I give them communion, my husband usually accompanies me.
mhm.
I don't go anywhere usually by myself. Um, but you know, we have to understand that everybody has a disability. Just everybody's disability is not visible because
That's
there's no
exactly right.
perfect person. So regardless of what your disability is, whether you want to acknowledge that you have something or not, you know, I wear glasses. This can be considered
Yes.
disability. My daughter is legally blind, but she's able to function in that manner, even though she's legally blind. She has to wear glasses that correct her vision enough where she can see. So we all have that thorn in our side. You know, some are more visible than others. You know, I had an issue one time. I parked at Walmart in the parking lot, in the handicap parking space. My son was driving me. I got out and I went in the store. And when I came back, the police was there. And I said, what's the problem? And there was a lady, she called the police because she saw me get out of the car and my son was sitting there and she felt like we didn't belong in the handicap spot. But as I was walking up, the policeman was saying, well, who's the disabled vet? And I said, I am. And so he said, well, who is this? I said, this is my driver. This is my son. And he goes, oh, I'm so sorry. But yes, disabled vets can park. If you have a disabled vet plate, you can park in the handicap spot. He said, and I don't know. He apologized profusely. He said, I have no idea why they called on you. But just because you see somebody and they look a certain way doesn't mean that there isn't issues that's involved in their body or in their mind. You know, there's something going on with all of us.
Yes. Connie, you actually are stealing my show because because that was one of the things I was going to bring out is the fact that though we may not be labeled as disabled, I promise you, I'm sure everybody I know has a disability, including myself. And I say it jokingly, but I truly do mean it because you said, for instance, wearing glasses, and I realize I cannot function without my glasses. I'm actually sitting here with my notes and I can hardly see them and I printed everything big so that I could see it, and I'm still not able. But you're right. Everybody has some type of functional disability, some more so than others. And with that, I'm going to come to Nikki. Nikki, I want you to share with us your story. It's amazing. Tell us about you. Your employment. I think I said share with us your disability and how you landed in your field of employment.
Hi, I am a T12 paraplegic. So I am basically no movement or function from my belly button approximately down due to a spinal cord tumor. And so I landed in my field of employment. It kind of landed in my lap. It was not, I got an accounting degree. I had a tax internship right before I found out that I had this tumor, and I was going to go work at KPMG or one of the big four. And then I was going to open my own accounting firm. And that was it. And God was like, hold on, psych. Oh, not yet. So, I became fully paralyzed in 2013, and I did not work for about, what was that, 3 years. And a friend of mine, their parents were starting a business and they needed a bookkeeper. And I was sitting home all day, bored out of my mind because I was no longer working and didn't think that I could work because I was on Social Security disability. And so I just kind of started doing that just a few hours a week. And I had no idea what I was doing. And, you know, the whole fake it till you make it. And I just kept learning and kind of fell in love with bookkeeping. I had never done it before. And that led to a referral to another client who led to a referral to another client. And that's kind of how my virtual bookkeeping business started, because I realized that it doesn't matter that I have a disability. I may need to do things a little differently, but all I need is my laptop to do this job. And so it fell in my lap, and I loved it and decided, you know, I still love doing taxes. So why not go get my EA so that I can do that alongside of my bookkeeping business. So it really kind of, the last few years have been kind of a roller coaster, because it started as something that was literally 5 hours a week, turning into what's going to be a full-time, you know, 40+ hour job. So it really has been eye-opening, and I've just learned a lot. And I take on jobs sometimes, and then people find out that I'm in a wheelchair, and they go with it, but I can tell in their eyes, they're a little surprised sometimes. But I love just showing people that just because you have a disability, you may need to do things differently, like wear glasses or use a cane, or I don't know, need extra lighting or something like that. And it really doesn't matter. And I really enjoy showing that to other people.
Thank you.
Great.
Thank you, Nikki. And let's say she is also a mother. She's raised my grandson. He's fabulous. I'll just say that, like a grandma
Yes.
would. My fabulous Tyson, who's graduated from high school this year. And I'm going to go to Randy next. Randy, I know that you work in the human health services arena. Can you share with us your experience and how you landed in that human health services arena?
I work for the Department of Human Services on my day job, my 9 to 5. I have a community outreach business, and I'm a licensed counselor. So how I landed that way is after I had my youngest daughter, who's now 26. I was struggling to kind of function. I was diagnosed with major depression. I was actually clinically depressed. So that means you don't function at all. You just kind of just will wake up and stay in the bed. And went through some changes. And I remember going to the Department of Human Services to get assistance, food stamps, and they were sitting there and the office was full. People were not moving around. And I said, what do I got to do to get your job? Y'all need help. And they laughed. And they were like, if you get a degree at this point, they'll hire you. So I was like, okay, help me do, show me how to do that. And so they helped me get the benefits and helped me get bus passes and all of that. And that's how I started the school. And it took me 7 years to get my bachelor's, a year to get my master's. And I waited 10 years to get the job, but I got hired with the Department of Human Services. And because I was clinically depressed, I wanted to be a counselor and help people. So I got licensed so I could do that. So that's how I landed in this field.
That is something, because as you have a problem, you become the resolver of the problem, right? I love the way you said you went into the office and you said, y'all look depressed. What can I do to help you? And I truly do believe that when you are in a state of whatever that state is, when you start looking out beyond yourself, is when you find that you can help others. And as you help others, you begin to heal yourself. Now, I totally live by that. When I find myself thinking about myself way too much, then I start saying, okay, stop this madness and let me go see who I can help. And at that point, that's when I start falling out of that realm, because we can all go into some type of depression, right? I know you said you were clinically depressed, but we can all fall into that at that time.
Yes, and I currently have a diagnosis of lupus and fibromyalgia, and that actually affects my cognitive ability. So people look at me, sometimes I have a limp and I walk with a cane, but there are times when I can't formulate a sentence properly because in a flare, I can't get that sentence all the way out.
Sure.
And so people look at me and go, but you okay? Well, no, not always. I have bad days. Today's not a great day. I was doing fine until about 3 o'clock. And then the pain started and the thoughts started to race. And so I actually didn't know if I was going to get on this call or not. But I had promised. So to be a woman of my word, I'm here.
Well, you know what? I appreciate you, Randy, because I know that you actually have been on our call before.
Yes, I have.
Yes, you have. I just remembered that you had actually been on was it the stress call? I'm not sure which one, but welcome back.
I think it was mental health. Yeah.
Mental health call.
Oh, it was the mental health. Yes. Well, welcome back. Welcome back. And we're going to come back to the fibromyalgia because I have a goddaughter who actually suffers with that as well. Miss Jackie Bynes, are you here with us tonight?
I am.
Hi, how are you?
Yes.
I'm doing fine.
Excellent, excellent. Share with us the disability, or you're working with those with disabilities, and how you landed in your field of employment.
Oh, wow. First of all, I'd just like to say it's been quite a stimulant hearing all the other persons talk. And in each one, I could see some part of where I have been where I am and hope to go further. But I've been a nurse for over 49 years, and I've progressively come to the state of not so much disability as limitation. And that's where I am as I relate to the persons who's using a cane and using a walker. My walker is my speed mobile that gets me there a lot faster than my cane does, because with my cane, I'm having to judge each step so that I don't fall. And that's the goal, never to fall. But where I am now at DDMS of Houston, working with clients who are from profoundly mentally challenged to the moderately mentally challenged, and they're there because their families have some limitations as well in taking care of them. And then I have those clients who also are the ward guardian of the Harris County and other counties involved, and also sometimes the relatives may be guardians. And it's a challenge in that sometimes their needs are so great physically that they may require the judgment that I and two other nurses that are super nurses, because each one of them take care of six houses that can be 5 to 4 clients in them at all times. And that's a total of 72 clients that the 3 nurses take. And it's a very stressful sometimes, but at the same time, it's a very pleasurable situation when you can see that a client can smile, even though you might not real sure about what they're understanding. But for me, having worked as a nurse for 49 years, and like I said, I've gradually progressed to where I am now, because I've been from staff to management to right now being the director of health services for these 72 clients. And I got in this particular job because they had an opening in medical records, which allowed me not to have to do anything but be in a room. And within a 2-month period, I saw 2 nurses come and go. And I asked my boss, am I qualified for this? He says, you're overqualified. I said, well, if I'm qualified, I'd like to take a shot at it, with knowing that all these things that's going on with me, not being able to be as ambulatory as I would like to be. 2 years ago, I had major back surgery, a lumbar laminectomy and spinal fusion, and I have now a neurostimulator to help get rid of some of the pain, which to some extent is not always comfortable. But the thing is that helping others have given me the motivation to be the best that I can be, with, if it's supervising someone else to do what needs to be done, or making a clinical decision of what a client needs. My boss has a saying that we developed whenever I told him, sometimes I'm not real comfortable by letting them stay home with just knowing what the staff says, but I need to do a little bit more. And he said, well, when in doubt, send them out. And that's how I keep them well, is that I make sure that they get the services that they need medically. I enjoy my job where I am. It's 5 days a week, but 24 hours a day. And it's sometimes scary, because sometimes the situation can be critical when somebody calls you and says that this person is not responding, but they're breathing. Well, that's not a decision as to, let's see what they will do. No, that's 911, and let's get them help. And that's the group that I work with. And again, I enjoy what I do. And as someone with limitations, we call them disabilities.
Yes.
Limitations is what we have. because
Yes.
if we could go further, we would go further. But we have some limits that
Limits.
what we do as how we care for others, particularly.
That's beautiful. Thank you so much, Jackie, for sharing. And welcome from Houston. My sister
Yeah.
just came
Oh,
back from Houston, and I have a niece
Did
that
you-
is in school at Texas State University.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yes.
Did she already tell you it was getting hot?
Yes, she did.
It is. It's
And I see you
82
moved
degrees
from Florida
already.
too. I'm sorry.
It's already 82 here today.
Yes, I see
And
you moved from Florida to Houston. So you just love the
yes,
heat.
yes.
Amazing, amazing. Barbara, we're not going to leave you out, Barbara. I'm coming right
Oh,
at you.
that's okay.
Please
Wow.
share with us your disability and how you landed in your field of employment.
Wow. Yeah, 28 years ago, I was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis, and that was one of the things that it really just threw me because I didn't understand a lot about it in the beginning because I didn't have a lot of symptoms. And for years, many people didn't even know that I had it. It really just started to, I say, show its ugly head about 10 years ago. Just the challenge of walking. So I've had multiple jobs and I've been in law enforcement and I've been in social service and I've always just worked in the field to help others. And then, as it started to progress, I realized there was just certain things that I couldn't do anymore because I worked downtown for many years and getting off the train and walking, 6 blocks to get
Hi.
to the federal building, that's what I used to do. And I was a runner in high school, a basketball player. So I was always very active. So this was such a big challenge for me. And ultimately, as I moved around in different capacities with different jobs, when I looked at Quad County, I saw that they really work with minorities. And it wasn't just like Black people or Latinx people, but I saw disabilities in their information. So that's what kind of drew me to Quad County and wanting to apply for a position that they had. So that's kind of how I landed here. And, when you have those limitations, as Miss Jackie said, you want people to be considerate of those things. And it doesn't mean that you can't do the work, but you just as Nikki said, you have to do it differently and just be more focused on what the job entails and do the best I can. And what I like about Elisa is that she's able to recognize those talents that I do have. So that's how I ended up at Quad County. So I'm just grateful for being able to work as the community health worker supervisor and just empower the community health workers to help the people during this time. So that's it.
Thank you, thank you. And I was wondering if you was gonna say, because I will tell her, girl, please. You used to. What is that? You still have all your faculties and everything else.
Yeah.
Doesn't
And that helps. That really helps when you're going through these challenges, is somebody to encourage you.
Yes. And that actually brings us to my next question. What are some of the social or economic or emotional or physical barriers that you've found that you've encountered working with people? Maybe you don't have the supervisor like me that says you're fabulous anyway. I don't care. What have you how I should say have you dealt with those issues? How have you dealt with friends, family, supervisors, those that you come in contact with who may cause those type of social, emotional, or physical barriers, create physical barriers? Well, I guess I should call it somebody, Miss Connie.
That was a loaded question.
Yeah.
As for me, I've been married now for 5 years.
Okay, congratulations.
And when I married my husband, he didn't know about all of the issues that I have. And when I say issues, I like to put it that way. It's issues, not disabilities, they're issues.
Mm-hmm.
I was diagnosed with fibromyalgia. I have a pinched nerve in my back, so sometimes I walk with a walker, and I'm in the process of getting a scooter. So, and along with my seizure disorder and uncontrolled migraines because of the head injury. So there was a lot of things going on, but I was able to try to mask a lot of it. And that's the issue with having problems, because a lot of times you feel like you have to mask and you have to put on this face, so when people see you, they see something that's completely different than what's going on the inside. I dealt with my share of depression and things like that because of my disabilities, because I was so used to being the type of person that I'm a go-getter. I'm always out, I'm working. I never worked a job where I sat behind a desk. I worked as a shop foreman. I managed a group of male welders. I worked in a chemical plant. I was the only female and the first Black female that Air Products and Chemicals had hired as an operator. So there was a lot of things that I was used to doing that now I can't do anymore. So when I got married, I felt like I needed to still be Superwoman. And Superwoman almost took me out. So I had to be honest, not just with my husband, but I had to be honest with myself about what I was going through in order to be able to help him to understand what I was going through. So I think it was me fighting, not the family members, but more my pride and my privacy, because that means that you have to open yourself up to scrutiny, because you have to be honest with people. And then you have to believe that the people that you're being honest with is going to continue to treat you the same way, even though they know about your issues. So that was something that, so the barrier wasn't necessarily the people as it was me. I was in the way of me.
That's
So
very
when
good.
I got to the point where I trusted myself with other people, then I could trust and open up and say, look, I can't do this anymore. Sometimes I would do things, and then for 3 or 4 days, I couldn't walk. I knew I wasn't capable of doing it, but I didn't want to say no, or I didn't want to seem like I didn't care, or I didn't want to seem like I was able to handle my business. So I would do it anyway.
Yeah.
And so I had to come to the realization that there was limits to what I could do, or that I had to do things differently than what I did in the past. I couldn't be on a marathon like I was in the past. I maybe had to do a sprint instead of a marathon, but I do several sprints and I'm okay. But if I try to do a marathon, I'm not. So it wasn't just the people themselves and getting past the barriers of my family members and my friends. It was getting past Connie.
Yeah.
And then
That's
once I
huge.
was able to get past Connie, then everything kind of lined out, because then I was able to see that people were willing to accept me for who I was, because they understood what I was going through. And when I was in a bad mood, it wasn't just because I'm in a bad mood, I'm in pain.
Yes.
So I'm hurting. So I'm not in bad mood. I'm hurting, but I couldn't be honest and tell people that at first.
That is extraordinary, because you're right. You have a physical limitation or some issue or a mental limitation or an issue, but it's really accepting that. And you're right. It's yourself first. I could go there, because I took a sabbatical in 2020, and I got a coach, and she said, girl, if you could just get out of your own way. It's pride, it's self-reflection, and again, I not to minimize, what each of you have gone through, but again, it is something that it takes a mental redistribution. That's not the right word, but I'm sure you all understand what I'm saying here.
Rewiring.
Rewiring, yes, rewiring of how to do things, as you said. I know Barbara has mentioned to me about being a runner and not being able to walk as fast as she used to. And I think what struck me most, Connie, with what you said is that you used to be able to run a marathon. And I don't think you meant literally, but just in all the tasks that you do.
Literally, when I was in the military, I was able to run a marathon. But then now it's figurative now, because the marathon was all of the hats that I had.
Yes.
All of the people that I was trying to please, my children, my grandchildren. I had custody of my niece's children, and all of them were disabled, all of them. So I had 5 children that were disabled that I was taking care of along with my disabilities. And so it was just one of those things where I was constantly on a marathon, but my marathon was doing this and doing that. And I'm over here and I'm over there. I was all over the map.
Yeah.
And then finally one day I actually literally crashed. It was a crash. And I had to stop and reevaluate and say, okay, Connie, how can you help somebody if you can't help yourself? You're so busy trying to help everybody else. But if you're not physically or mentally able to help somebody because of your issues, then now you're stuck in a place where I have always been the type of person that when I'm helping somebody else said it helps me to look past my issues.
Yes.
But I've crashed. Now I can't help anybody else. I can't help myself. So now I'm even worse than I was before because I'm thinking about all the stuff that I should be able to do, but I'm not physically able or not mentally or emotionally capable of doing. I remember saying one time to my children, I have given all. There's nothing left.
There was nothing left.
I am drained. I'm drained. And so at that point, I knew that it was time to get a recharge and to reevaluate my priorities, reevaluate me, what made me happy, what made sense for me, and not necessarily care about what Joe Blow or Sally Sue is going to say about the fact that I said no.
You're leading me in so many different directions. I want to go to Randy to talk about how she deals with the folks that she's working with. I want to go to Jackie to talk about, the ones who haven't really accepted it. I want to go to Kimberly and find out, I know she's moving into this NAMI new area of study. I want to go to Nikki because I know that she's taken on some things like basketball coach, doing a tour on bicycle, and so many things here. Who wants to go first? I've named off all the things I want to hear. Randy, go ahead.
Being a counselor, a mental health counselor, you take on people's issues. And being a person who likes to help people, taking on other people's issues, and you're sympathetic.
Yes.
You have to have your boundaries intact. And that's something that I had to learn over the years. Because as a mental health counselor, as a substance abuse counselor, you can hear people's stories, but you have to be able to disseminate what is the piece that you're going to touch and what is the piece that you're not going to touch.
Yeah.
And as a counselor, you have to learn, okay, I can't do the things that they can do for themselves. And that's the first lesson that you have to learn, is that never do anything for somebody that they can do for themselves.
I think I can learn that anyway.
Even in community outreach, I'm the same way.
Sure.
If a person tells me, oh, I need financial help with my rent. Okay, what have you done differently that you should have done? So we go down the line. Did you save? What did you spend this money on? And like you have people that got $1,400 stimulus and went and bought $300 pair of shoes, $300 belt, $700 purse, and it's like, hello, you have rent due. The rent didn't stop just because there was a pandemic.
Right.
And so
right.
we had to talk about the budgeting. We had to talk about those things. And for me, a person who, like I said, loves to help people, my first thought is, let's get this rent paid.
Yeah.
And we're going to get the rent paid, but we're going to address why you got here. And that's the thing that's the hardest for me. Like I said, I had to set boundaries. And there are times that whatever burden they're carrying is so heavy, I can feel it.
Yes.
And then I have to go to my burden bearer, get on my knees and pray. And
yes.
talk to my counselor, my minister, and say, hey, this is what's going on. And then I need somebody to lift me up because I'm so heavy, I've been carrying this burden for somebody else.
That's interesting that you say that, because what I learned, because I tried to do some coaching, and I know you are a coach, but it's interesting to know that even as a counselor or a coach or a case manager or whatever that helping field is, you need a counselor, coach, or something so that you can relieve those burdens. Kimberly, share with us how you are learning about that. I know you're actually facilitating conversations at NAMI.
Yes, I was recently trained as a facilitator for this new NAMI initiative called Sharing Hope. The aim is to help start conversations in for my end in the Black community, because there has been a history of, we don't really talk about that. That's not really happening. You don't have time to be depressed. What are you doing? Just snap out of it, and it's pray it away. And we need to have that real conversation. That, I mean, for some people prayer works, but it's also okay if you need something else.
Yeah.
You know, like if your brain doesn't make all the chemicals you need, store-bought is fine.
I love that. I love that. If your brain, I need to be able to write that. Somebody write that in the chat. If your brain doesn't make
I'll put it in there.
what you need, go buy some.
Exactly.
Love it. Love it. That's awesome. Jackie, tell me more. Tell me about this buying chemicals, or is that what okay, first of all, before I go to that point, you mentioned the fact that you all are super nurses. Is that your title? Or are you all really just super nurses?
Yeah, I am one who will encourage others, and I encourage them by giving what I call psychological paycheck.
Yes.
And they motivate people whenever you let them know that, yes, you did something good. And even, you know, when we're talking about disabilities, that when someone who has a disability does something that is past what they've done before, they may have even done it before, but at this point they were able to do it before. I work with, I want to say probably about 10 high functioning females. And one of the things that I've seen a lot is that they've had their person attacked because of their mental disability. When somebody will, whether it's family or whether it's someone in the street, will say something that makes it negative to be who they are. When I was on the way home this afternoon, and what I heard was that I am made in God's image, and he's definitely not a negative.
Yes.
So everybody has that, and that's every human being that has that. So that's something that I focus on by saying you can do it because you have the strength in you to do it, because it's supplied by someone who's a whole lot greater than you.
Yes, exactly.
So the thing is that I rely for myself, and I totally agree. You cannot treat anybody if you have not been treated yourself with your own. And healing is a part of yourself that you give to someone else, but you need to have that healing going on. You can't just be healed one time. It's healing.
It's replenishing.
And that healing is a continuous process. The thing that a lot of us sometimes, particularly those who care for others, will forget about us, and we'll end up in places where we have to be delivered ourselves. I'm now praying for one more day that the Lord will bless me to be 72 years old. And at this point, I'm grateful for the fact that I had some stages in life that has put this stage of my life at a place where my major surviving tactic is know where my peace is. And I think when we learn that, when we acquire that and put it in perspective, it doesn't matter what's going on outside of us, it's what's going on inside of us. And the other part about that is not to let anybody manipulate that, because some people, no matter what the relationship to you, don't have peace.
Yes.
But they will attack your peace.
They will try to steal your peace.
Yep.
Exactly. So even in your physical disabilities, my daughter asked me one time whenever I was going for my follow-up appointments after my surgery, she said, "Mom, why you waiting so long?" I tell her, because I had to get my mental and emotional and spiritual self in the same plane so that when I had to go through what I had to go through with the physical surgeries and everything, I could handle it.
Sure.
And that's how I did. I mean, it was, he gave me 12 weeks, I took 8 because that's all I needed because everything was in line. We are caregivers, and that's what I'm hearing everybody, every last one of us, it's just
Yes.
interesting, are caregivers. But there's sometimes when we need care.
Mhm.
And because of that, and if acknowledging that is where we're going to be our most functionable and most valuable person, because it allows us to draw on a resource that to some extent is overwhelming, it's in abundance. And I started off telling Barbara, I rely on not me because me can't handle it. I
That's
rely
right.
on my Father in
I-
heaven who can. And
I
he
believe
has
that.
given me tools, and the tools that he has given me has been his word. Even, I have surveyors who come into my facility to scrutinize and to examine everything that we've done, yes or nay. And my first word in myself, in my quiet self, says, no weapon formed against me shall prosper.
Right. There we go.
From
Thank
that
you,
point
ma'am.
on, and then I go to say when I won't say they're attacking, when they're asking me stuff that says, how did you do this? I can do all things.
That's exactly
Who
right.
strengthens me. My limitations, because over the 72 years almost, I did not do what I should have done for my body. I mean, I worked facilities where the temperature was so cold. I have severe arthritis in both of my shoulders where there's no cartilage, in both of my knees where there's no cartilage. The only thing really going good is between my knees and my hip. The rest of the stuff is sort of gone on its own way, but by the help of God, he strengthens me
By the
and
grace
gives
of
me
God.
peace.
Yeah. Okay.
Amen. Amen. Nikki, tell us about I want to talk about this coaching career, baseball career, because some of what we're all talking about is hope and healing within ourselves. And I've watched you, and I don't know if you know as I was watching you, but I was watching you and I was like, this girl, oh my God, is she gonna sit down somewhere? But you never did. You never did.
well-
And so I know we asked the question about the social and emotional and those types of things. If you want to wrap it all together, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm echoing, I don't know why. The first couple months, probably 6 months to a year after I got paralyzed, I kind of was in that depression. My life is over. What am I gonna do? I can't walk and all these things. And I just kind of laid in bed all day and read books. And it was actually at a Steve Harvey show. My mom and I used to always go to live tapings when he was still in Chicago, and he had a speaker on there. And afterwards, Steve would always just give like words of motivation to the audience. And he just said, stop asking God for little things. If we believe that God is the ultimate one, then why are we asking for rent money? Why don't we ask for a house? Why are we asking for money, to lease a car? Why aren't we asking money for a job that we'd be able to pay cash for a car and things like that? And just I'm like, well, why am I sitting here moping around like this? I was like, my legs don't work. Everything else is still fine. My brain's intact, my arms are intact. So it was just kind of this light bulb where I was like, okay, well, I still can do everything. I just need to do it a little bit different. So I kind of just took that approach to everything. I had gained tons of weight when I was in the hospital. And I was like, well, at first I was like, well, but guess that's it. I'm in a wheelchair. I can't exercise. I started doing Beachbody and I lost like 80 pounds in a year. And then that led to, okay, well, I was like, I need a little bit extra money because we want to go on vacation. I started substitute teaching and I thought the kids would not listen to me or respect me because I'm in a wheelchair. They could care less. They were
kids.
Yeah.
Wow. That's
So
amazing.
it was like
They don't like anybody.
Yeah. Same thing. And then my son's basketball team, when he was in 6th grade, needed a coach. And it was always something I wanted to do. But I really felt like, well, they're going to be like, who's this lady in a wheelchair? She's not going to be able to teach us anything. And that's probably one of my favorite experiences, because I learned how to show them to do something, even though I couldn't physically do it. Um, I found other ways. And this is where I had to find balance, because I went so far extreme like everyone else, because people were telling me I couldn't do things. So I'm like, no, I'm gonna do everything on my own. And I had to come to that realization that
I
sometimes
love it.
sometimes I do have to have someone come and help in the house, because I just don't have the energy to do it. Sometimes I just can't reach things. So I had to find that balance of, I can be independent and still ask for help sometimes, and that's okay. Because that was really hard at one point. I was just like, nope, I'm gonna do everything myself. I'm gonna show everybody that I don't need anybody's help. And then you burn out, just as I think everyone has said. So I think finding balance was a thing, and coaching was the thing that really helped me um realize that I can do anything, because we had very successful team for many years. Me being in a wheelchair and teaching these kids and learning how to just really be a team and show them, use the resources you have. I might have to use another child to show someone how to do something. And we can all do that. Like if we, for instance, even look at the runners, the blind runners in the Olympics. You wouldn't think right off like, oh, how are you a blind runner? Well, they use someone else to help guide them. They're still doing all the work. So I had to learn to use the resources that I have um, to be successful, basically.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Mhm.
I love it. Each one of you have brought out several things. Accepting the limitations. I'd like to kind of recap, because again, we want to educate our audience. It's not that you don't recognize that you have a limitation, but it's accepting the limitation, being delivered from yourself, from your pride of now knowing that in addition to the regular limitations we all have, that you may have something different, and it's just different. Becoming independent, but yet still asking for help. You can be independent and ask for help. I think I'm still dealing with that with my mom. She's 83, still she's talking about she gonna go buy a car.
My grandmother turned 95 last Monday, and she still talked to me about getting a job, because she said she needs another source of income.
That's exactly the same thing with this crazy lady. She needs to go get a job. I'm like, oh, and who gonna hire you?
My grandma actually asked for, this was 2 years ago. She asked, pre-pandemic, we went to Portillo's and they were hiring, and she was looking for an application, and they're like, well, it's only online. So that was kind of the deterrent for her, because
That was her cutoff. And then the other thing that really has come out a lot is about having balance. I know, Nikki, you said the word, but I heard it, like throughout, especially Connie, you were saying, I did everything, but really just still trying to maintain some balance in your life, as well as doing the help and the work that you all do, which is just amazing. It's just amazing. Barbara, did we come to you with that question with the emotional and social barriers that you may have encountered?
Hmm. Um, wow. I saw that I did have a lot of barriers, and I had to acknowledge them. And I think that's the key, is being able to acknowledge that you can't do some of the things that you used to be able to do. And just the situation that I was in, going through a divorce and moving, and I had a lot of things that were new to me, because I had been married for 25 years. So all of a sudden, I have to do everything on my own. And kind of like what Miss Jackie was saying, that's where my faith became so strong, and I knew who I needed to rely on more than myself. And that was so important to me, and it allowed me to navigate in different areas, whether I and I'm in a book club, whether we went out to a restaurant or just doing things together, going out for dinner. My birthday was over the weekend. I went out to dinner with a friend. So I mean, just being thank you. So being able to just make things work, that's the most important thing, and you just got to make it work.
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
yes. What is something that sometimes people misunderstand about you? I mean, you all seem very strong women, very strong in your careers, very strong-headed, I want to say. What I think they might get told, but what are some things that people may may
love it.
misunderstand about you? Nikki.
Yes.
It-
Sorry, I'm like itching to say this because it drives me crazy. What I get a lot is that people feel I'm being rude or disrespectful when I say that I don't need help. Some people get upset with that, and that gets hard because you don't want to be rude, but you also for the biggest thing I would say, for instance, I used to go hand cycle in the downtown Chicago twice a week, and I would take the train in, and then I would take a bus over and hand cycle. And all the time, people would come up in the city and just start pushing my wheelchair to help me. And I'm just like, a couple times I almost got hurt because my hands are in my wheels. I'm doing my own thing, and random people just come up and grab. And then when I say no, thank you, you get the attitude of, well, I was just trying to help you.
Yeah.
And I think it's important for people to understand that just because people have any sort of disability doesn't give you the right to not treat them as a person. And I just kind of use the example of you would never like go up and grab a mother's stroller to help her push her child down the street or things like that. So I appreciate when people ask. I don't mind that at all. But when they just take it upon themselves to take away what ability I do have, it's very frustrating. And I try
think
to.
that's important what you just said. Take away the ability of what you do have. You do have ability, right?
So I do try to, most people, I kind of have to calm my friends down because they're very protective of me. And I just try to always use it as a teaching moment because I know that most people are not doing it to offend me or to be mean. It really comes from a good place, but we do need to teach others. Like disability is such a taboo topic. Nobody wants to talk about it, but we need to talk about it more because like we've said, everyone has some sort of disability. And the more people understand, the more we can, help others instead of running into these issues. Or people don't want to ask me. They get upset if their kids ask me why I'm in a wheelchair, which is a very common question. I always refer to, well, if somebody was on crutches and broke their leg, you wouldn't think that's offensive to ask them how they broke their leg. Like that's a common thing you do. There's nothing wrong with asking me why I'm in a wheelchair. I'd be happy to tell you. And then you might know that, it doesn't really bother me. Not being able to use my legs is really not that big of a deal. There's way worse things that could be wrong with me. So I think we just have to use every moment as a teachable moment, so that can get passed along to someone else who can pass it along to someone else.
Yeah, that's good. I just want to throw in a comment here. Everybody in the community, you are not supposed to touch someone's wheelchair. It's just like she said, you wouldn't go and take someone's stroller with their child in it. Touching someone's wheelchair, and I learned this. It is off limits. It's like touching someone's body. So don't do that. And I giggle behind it. I say it in all seriousness. Connie, so I felt like you were itching to say something there. The question was what's something people seem to misunderstand about you?
I think for me, it's that they misunderstand that my strength is my weakness. Because everybody sees me as being a strong person.
Yes.
So there are times when even the strongest person needs help. But they don't offer help because they think that, oh, she's got it. But then the other side of it is my weakness is my strength because of God. because he says that in my weakness, he is
Yes,
made strong.
there you are, made strong.
You know,
Yes.
And so people are so busy judging and determining instead of waiting and letting the person that has the weakness tell them what I need. You know, just she said about the wheelchair. If I need help with the door, I'll let you know.
Yeah.
Excuse me, can you get the door for me? But don't just automatically start grabbing my walker and trying to move it in the door, and you've got me going 100 miles an hour and I'm trying to hold on to it, you know, because I've had issues like that as well, you know.
Yeah.
But one of the things that I did want to say, I was listening to one of the other young ladies speaking, and we don't think about, even like in the Bible where Paul, he had a thorn in his side. But that didn't diminish who he was, and it didn't stop him from being who he was or completing the task that he had been assigned.
That's exactly right.
He had to be able to work with the thorn because God had told him. He said, I know he's able. You know, I know he's able, but even if you don't do it, I still know that you're able to do it. You know, so
he's able to remove it.
Exactly. But he
even
didn't.
If he doesn't.
He didn't. But even if he doesn't, I know and I believe that he can. You know, so that's kind of where we have to work within what we are. God says that I am still perfect. He said, I was fearfully and wonderfully made, even in my weakness, even with my issues. And one other thing I have to say, and I'm going to stop talking. I had and this is where we really have to educate, not just the community, but we really got to get into the churches, and we've got to educate the churches and the people that are dealing with people with infirmities. I was talking to a prophetess that had come to our church, and I said to her, I was waiting for them to give me my scooter. And I was excited about it because VA had finally approved it. And I hadn't mentioned it to anybody, but it's important to me. And so when I said that, she said, oh, no, no, the devil is a lie. We're going to pray that thing right away because you don't need no scooter and you can't minister to somebody from a scooter. And I thought, wait a minute. First of all, God never said that we were all going to be perfect. We were all going to have imperfections because we were made, it said in sin, we were conceived. So if I'm going to have imperfections, you can't tell me that I have to pray away of imperfection if that's not what God's will is for me. His will may just be that I endure through it. And in me enduring through it, other people will be able to see me and say, oh, okay, if she can do it, I can do it too. Look at this is what this woman has accomplished. Tell me what it is that keeps you going. I can witness and say, my faith keeps me going. My prayer life keeps me going. I don't trust on Connie anymore. I just trust God. You know, but you don't tell people that there's something wrong with them if they're not able to pray through something. You know, or there's something wrong with their faith if they prayed about it and then it didn't happen. Because if that's the case, then that means that the Bible's a lie.
Come on now. You know, you bring up a very, very, very important point that I learned, and I actually learned it from Nikki. I offered her prayer, right? I believe it was when you got out the hospital the second time. And I say second time, it was my second time. And I said to her, because I was in ministry school at the time, and you know, they say you just don't walk up and pray for people. You got to ask them what. And I asked her, you know, what do you want me to pray? Do you want me to pray your healing? And she said, you know what, I'm good. If God wants to heal me, He will. Don't worry about that. And I was like, what? And I say this, I don't mean to turn this whole topic into talking about our faith. But it was very enlightening to me that she was very comfortable right where she was. And again, you may not know this, you have really shown me what it means to really walk in your faith and just and in who you are and in who you are, right? With your limitations, with your issues, with my issues, with my limitations, with whatever it is that each of us has, and just being content, not necessarily comfortable, but being content in who it is that we are. Because as you said, in my weakness, there I'm made strong.
Mhm.
I know Randy is itching to say something. I can see it.
I'm sitting back, holding back. Well, actually, for me, it's the opposite. Because I look healthy, people will say, "Oh, you got, clear skin, whatever." So I've been at work at times and gotten sick and had to leave. And at one point, I had to call my daughter to actually come to my office and get me. She had to take a lift to my office to come get me and drive me home, and then help me in the house to get in bed. And they literally didn't want to let me leave work because they said, "You look fine."
Yeah.
But I was in so much pain I couldn't even stand up.
Mm.
And so I have had the experience where I've had to say, "Look, this is my issue, and I need to handle this quickly." And have actually had supervisors say, "Not right now. Come back in a half an hour." And then they end up calling an ambulance for me in a half an hour because I can't walk anymore.
Right.
So my weakness is I don't always stand firm when I say, "Hey, I'm having trouble today," or I'll press my way to the job, knowing that when I woke up that morning I was in pain and I should have not gone. So I've had those the opposite side.
Yeah.
My strength is, hey, I'm gonna do it because I said I'm gonna do it. But even in the midst of doing it, sometimes I have had to crash, or I've had to ask for help, and then somebody says, "Oh, you look fine. There's nothing wrong with you," because they're not a doctor and they can't gauge how much pain I'm in or how fast my body is shutting down. So
Right.
but I'm doing it anyhow,
Yeah.
anyhow, whichever way it takes, on a cane, if I, a scooter, whatever
Mm-hmm.
it takes, I'm gonna do that.
Well, that's very similar to, and I'm going to speak it to Jackie. That's very similar to mental disabilities or mental limitations. That
Yeah.
person can look like they are all there, or they have all the chemicals, as Kimberly said, but they don't, and they may need help. Right, Jackie?
One of the things that comes real strong to me when we're talking about how to, in a sense, overcome those things come against us, or even sometimes people who come against us, is to realize that particularly for people, they have limitations too of not totally understanding.
Understanding, that's it.
Yes. So it's left up to us how much we want them to understand and whether or not it will benefit them or benefit me. Now, when it comes to my family, I give them as much information as I think they handle. I have two beautiful daughters and now two twin grandsons that for me, I want them to know everything, but there are some areas for me that I have not allowed them to because of the fact that they're just not ready for it.
Sure.
They're just not ready
That's
for
a good
it.
point.
And at this point, I know what their limitations are and their vulnerabilities are.
Yes.
So to push that on them, I get too much resistance that takes away my strength. And one of my daughters live with me. My oldest daughter lives with me, and I think about sometimes, why does she put these seasonings back up in the cabinet when she know I can't reach it? Well, because she's not thinking about it.
Yes.
That's not on her mind to do it. So to pressure her to don't do that anymore, it would be not worth the effort involved in that. So I got other battles to fight besides this. So
besides the seasoning,
not having to deal with that, what I do is that I develop a way to resolve that for myself until she gets the picture.
Yeah.
Now, is that helping her? Probably not, but it sure helps me. And that's the person right now, when it comes to that I got to deal with.
Yes, it's like Connie said, it's keeping your peace.
I work in an office where there is two men, and the rest is female. And what I get from the females is sometimes in a form of a resentment, because regardless of what Miss Jackie has to do, she'll get it done. And my byword is just get it done.
Just get it
Okay? Whenever I have to make decisions about how something gets done, I was in a situation a couple of months ago where it was just me as the nurse taking care of 72 people, because I had one that was out because of an accident and another one because I had to let her go. But I still had to serve those clients with everything that they needed. So
Yes.
I found ways to get that done. I developed a Ziploc bag brigade where all the medicines was put in the bag and sent to the houses. And I checked to see that they got there, or depended on people that I knew could do that. And as a result, my boss said, "You sure you need another nurse?" I said, "I don't want to hurt you, so leave me alone." "Yes, I do. This is more. This is what we call improvising. That's a
Yes.
nurse's thing.
Yes.
A nurse
Until we
will
get
do
that on the
that.
nurse.
But the thing is, for us who have disabilities, we will find ways to get what we need done. And that's a good thing. Whenever we do that, not only do we show other people that they too can, whatever their limitations or whatever their issues are, that it can be done. It can be done. You don't have, it's sort of like, if I'm riding a bicycle and all you're doing, and you're walking, but we're going to the same place, it doesn't really matter how long it takes me to get there. It's that I get there.
That you get there.
Mm-hmm.
That's good. That's good.
Perfect.
That's wonderful. Barbara, what is something that has seemed to be a misunderstanding even in your situation, or with your family, friends, employers?
Well, I think that's a good point to bring up, because I realize, like my daughter, I have a daughter that's 22 years old, and she's been used to seeing me do everything. So if I ask for assistance or just little things, she doesn't think that I need help, or she doesn't think. It's almost like she thinks I'm making it up. And I'm like, with MS, one of the things is chronic pain. And I'm just in pain all the time, but I keep going. And I think over the years, as I kept going, she never saw a lot of the pain that I was going through. So she didn't think that it was an issue. But that's the one thing I can say about, my daughter, is that she doesn't think it's as bad as it is. But,
Sure.
it's almost like,
tell us more about multiple sclerosis. You say it's based on pain?
yeah, I mean, there's a lot of pain tied to it. And it's, it has to do with your brain and your spine. So if there's lesions in your brain and lesions in your spine, it affects everything. And the ones in your spine, which I have developed over the last 5 years, those are the areas where they kind of deal with the disability, the physical disability.
Okay.
So, and that's what I've seen, and that's why it's become more challenging. So, but my daughter, she seems to say, "Oh, I know people with MS." And I'm like, "But with MS, everybody's so different. A lot of people have cognitive issues. A lot of people have just, physical issues. A lot of people have mental health issues, or a lot of people had a combination of all three. So it just brings you to a different place. But one thing I realize is I'm still the same person. And that's what I want people to recognize. I'm still the same person.
Okay. Well, you just brought that to me, to my last question here. What do you want people to know about you? And if you want to expound on that, Barbara?
I just want people to know that I won't let this disability form who I am, and I want people to see the strengths that I have and my capabilities and my abilities instead of looking at what I can't do. That's what I want people to understand and see the gifts and the strengths that I have.
Ooh. We have 5 minutes left, ladies. I'm going to go to Miss Jackie and then Miss Randy.
Or Kimberly? No.
What would I like people to know for me?
Mm-hmm.
Is that with all the strength that I have till that time that I have no strength, that I will continue to be as well as I can with what I got and what I don't have.
All right. Very good.
I am determined. I had a girlfriend a couple of weeks
I got only
days
5
ago.
minutes. I just got 5 minutes.
A couple of days ago, she said that she had retired her license. She gave them up, and I said, "Well, they're gonna have to pry mine out of my hand because I'm gonna keep them as long as I can." And that's because I want to continue to help people.
Yes, very good. Miss Connie.
Could you tell me the question again?
Just what, as we leave the conversation, what do you want people to know about you, or how you want people to know you?
I guess
working with disabilities.
I guess I just want them to know that there's no difference in me and them.
Mm-hmm.
That, you know, I'm still me.
Yes.
Whether I'm me with a disability or me without a disability.
Yes.
And then if they would look more at and stop looking at the outside of the person or the disability and just look at the person as a whole, then we would be able to understand other people better. But if I'm looking at you and trying to determine what your issue is, I don't even see you. I just see the issue.
That's judging, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, yeah. Kimberly.
I think the thing that I would want people to know, it's kind of piggybacking on other things that the ladies have said today. I am not my diagnosis.
Yeah.
I am a complete whole person that has a whole bunch of other factors that go into me that aren't that.
Yeah.
And the person that I had to most convince that of was actually myself. So you got to figure out how to not look at yourself in that way. Okay, I've got these limitations. How do I work around it?
Yes, yes, very good, very good. Nikki.
Mine is I just want to say for people in the community that may have disabilities or thinking about going into work or leaving work is like, don't let that be your own decision. Don't let anyone else tell you what your limitations are. We all know what our limitations are. And so just don't let someone else hinder you from doing what you want to do or what you were made to do.
Yes, that's good. And then Randy, as you give us your final words, I also want you to tell us a little bit about Real Talk.
Okay, well, my current limitation is not my final destination. It's
there
going
you
to get
go.
better for you. And Refined Real Talk is my business, my community outreach business. We deal with all kinds of community outreach: rape advocacy, domestic violence, mental health. We do housing. We're trying to reach out to ex-offenders. There's a lot. We do a lot. And it's still a baby. It's only 1.5 years old, but we're getting it done.
Well, congratulations on that. I just want to say to everyone, thank you so much for sharing. Thank you so much for being so open and honest. And I think, as we've all said, recognizing that each of you have come to this conversation as a working woman with a disability. We all have disabilities. And as I think Barbara said, or Connie, one of you all just said it, that I am not my disability. You are not your disability. You are the woman that you have been made to be. The strength that you have is still your strength, because strength comes from inside, right? It comes from our soul. It comes from out of our spirit. And that each of you are such a blessing to this conversation. I appreciate your attending. I thank you for everyone that's in the audience. Thank you for showing up here tonight. And with that, we're just going to say good night, and we will talk to you again about working women with disabilities at some point in the future. Have a great night. Signing off.
you.
Thank
all.
you.
Thank you. Thank you.
This is Quad County Urban League Community Health Worker Table Talk.
Good night, everyone.
Good
Night.
night.
Good night.
Thank you.